The longer you explain your offer, the less she believes in it. I know that sounds backwards. You've been taught to add more value, more details, more proof, more everything. But here's what's actually happening when you over-explain. She's not hearing the details. She's reading the energy underneath them. And that energy says, I'm not sure this is worth what I'm charging, and I need you to agree with me so I can feel okay about it. Now stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to present your offer in a way that makes her lean in instead of backing out. Hey there, welcome back. I'm Tiffany Fulcher, sales coach and founder of Convert Her. This is the place where women who are done with inconsistent income come to build a sales system that actually works. And if that's you, subscribe and let's get into it. Before we talk about the fix, I want to make sure that you can recognize this pattern in yourself, because most women who over-explain don't even know they're doing it. Over-explaining sounds something like this. She asks about your offer and you spend the next 8 to 10 minutes listing every single thing she gets. Every module, every bonus, every call, every resource, every feature, every detail you can possibly think of, because you want to make sure she sees the value before she hears the price. And then when you finally say the price, you immediately follow that up with more explaining. You also get access to this, plus there's a bonus. And should I mention this? She didn't even ask you for any of that. You offered it because somewhere underneath the explanation is a fear that if you stop talking, she'll say no. So here's what I want you to understand about what's happening on her end of that conversation. She checked out at minute 3. And what she's feeling in that moment is not impressed. She's feeling overwhelmed. She's feeling like this might be more complicated than what she actually needs. And she's starting to wonder why you need to convince her so hard. Over-explaining does not build confidence in your offer. It actually erodes it, because conviction doesn't come from volume. It comes from clarity. So why do we do it? Because the root of over-explaining is something much deeper than a sales mistake. Over-explaining is not a communication problem. It's a belief problem. When you truly believe your offer is worth what you're charging, you present it simply. Here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the investment, here's what happens next. But when there's a gap between what you're charging and what you believe you're worth, that gap gets filled with words. It gets filled with justifications and with explanations that are just a way of asking, is this okay? Do you think this is worth it? Please tell me you see the value before I have to ask you for money. And here's the painful truth about what happens next. The more you explain, the less convinced she becomes, because you've unconsciously handed the decision back to her. You've made her responsible for valuing your offer because you weren't willing to do it first. I see this constantly with women who genuinely have great offers, real results, real transformation, real value. And they get on a call and they completely dismantle their own credibility in the first 5 minutes by over-explaining everything before the prospect has asked a single question. And it doesn't matter how good the offer is, if the energy behind the presentation says, I'm not sure about this, your offer doesn't have a value problem, you have a belief problem. And belief problems don't get fixed by adding more to the pitch. They get fixed by doing 3 specific things. Here's the first one. The first one is knowing the results and not just the features. Most women can tell you exactly what's inside their offer. The modules, the calls, the bonuses, but ask them what result a woman who completes this offer walks away with, and they become hesitant. That hesitation is where the over-explaining lives. When you're crystal clear on the specific result your offer produces and you lead with that result instead of the features, the entire energy of your presentation changes. You stop saying, here's what you get, and you start saying, here's what changes. That shift alone will cut your pitch in half and double its impact. Number 2, collect and review results regularly. Conviction is built on evidence. If you want to believe in your offer more, you need to see it working more. That means actively collecting results from the women you serve. Screenshots, testimonials, voice notes, written wins, every single one. And then you need to look at them on a regular basis. Not just when you're feeling discouraged, but regularly as a consistent practice that reminds you what your work actually does in people's lives. You can't stand behind your offer if you've forgotten what the results are. Number 3, practice your offer statement like it's a fact. Here's the format. I help specific women achieve specific result through specific method. 1 sentence said with full conviction. No filler, no apology, no 12-sentence preamble. Practice it out loud, alone, in the car, in the mirror, until saying it feels as neutral as saying your own name. Because the moment it feels natural, it sounds natural. and natural conviction is what makes her lean in. I help specific women achieve specific result through specific method. Now let's talk about what to actually say when you present your offer. Because knowing you need conviction is one thing, but having the language that delivers that actual conviction, well, that's another. Here's the offer presentation structure that replaces over-explaining completely. There are 4 elements, and I want you to do them in this exact order and nothing else. Element number 1 is naming the problem she's living in right now. Not a generic problem, but her specific problem. The exact situation that she described to you when you asked her about her biggest challenge. And then use her words if you can. Something like this: based on what you've said, you've been showing up consistently and your sales are not matching your effort. You're not sure why you're not converting and you're starting to question whether the offer is the issue. She hears herself in that moment and she feels heard, and she's already halfway to yes. Element number 2 is name the result on the other side. Not the features, not the module, the transformation. What does her life look like after she works with you? So you might say something like, what I do is I help women identify exactly where their sales are leaking, and I build a system that helps them make predictable income. So the effort you're already putting in finally starts converting consistently. Short, specific, outcome focus. That's exactly what you need. Element number 3, state the investment with 0 apology. The investment is, and then say the price. Period. Nothing after. Not, I know this might seem like a lot, or there's a payment plan. Just a number, a breath, and silence. The silence is not awkward. The silence is where she processes. And if you're filling that silence with more explaining, you've interrupted the most important part of the conversation. Element 4, ask one question. Does that feel like what you need right now? That one question, it does 2 things. It gives her agency, so she's not feeling like she's being pushed. She's being asked, and it opens the door to the real objection, if one exists, which you can then address directly. So that's it. That's the 4 elements. That's the whole presentation. Everything else beyond that is over-explaining. But here's where most women fall apart, even if they know this structure. The moment the conversation goes quiet, they go right back to explaining. So let's talk about what to do when the silence stretches in those sales conversations. The hardest part of a sales conversation for most women isn't the pitch, it's the pause after the pitch. She's quiet, you're quiet, you don't know what she's thinking, and every instinct you have is telling you to fill that silence with more words, more value, more reasons she should say yes. Don't. Here's what's actually happening in that silence. She's deciding. And the moment you start talking again, you've pulled her out of the decision and back into the information processing mode, which means she now needs more time to think, which means she'll essentially say, I'll think about it. The silence is not rejection. Remember, that is the sale actually happening. And your job in that moment is to hold the space, breathe, stay warm, stay confident, and wait. If the silence stretches beyond 30 seconds, which it rarely does, you can ask what's coming up for you. Open-ended, not pushy. And whatever she says is the real conversation, not the pitch, not the features. What comes out of her mouth in that moment is the actual belief gap, and you get the opportunity to address it. That's what selling with conviction actually looks like. You say what needs to be said. You make the ask, you hold the space, and you trust the conversation to do the rest. So that's the full framework. But what I really want to leave you with is this, because what we've been talking about this entire video isn't just a sales technique, it's a decision. The woman who presents her offer simply and confidently isn't more experienced than you. She's made a decision you haven't made yet. She's decided that her offer is worth what she's charging, not because she has more proof, not because she has more clients or more testimonials or a bigger platform, but because she decided. Conviction is not something you wait to feel, it's something you choose to practice until it becomes real. And every time you present your offer simply, every time you state the price without apology and hold the silence without flinching, you deposit that into your conviction account. And over time, that account grows and the hesitation, it shrinks. And presenting your offer starts to feel like the most natural thing in the world. And your offer is worth what you're charging. Say it like you mean it and then stop talking. If this landed, if you felt something shift while watching this video, I made something for you. It's called Objection Proof. 12 word-for-word scripts for the sales objections you've been hearing the most. Let me think about it. It's not the right time. Can you send me more info? These are the exact responses I use with my private clients. It's free. The link is in the description and you can download it now and use it on your next sales conversation. I'll see you in the next video.